Hi, John. How are you doing this week?
Hi, Elliot. I actually left my home in Northern Virginia and I'm down in South Carolina. And it's certainly interesting to see the difference in approaches in terms of the pandemic, but we're staying as safe as possible.
Well, that's good. A couple weeks ago, we did a webinar on COVID-19 related fraud schemes. And sometimes you sort of think you're done with things, but just this week, the IRS sent out another press release warning people about various COVID-19 frauds. Did you get a chance to see that?
I did. And, our good friend and partner, Don Fort, is both quoted in there, and I'm sure him and his team put this together. And he makes the very strong and obvious point that criminals do take advantage of us during our most vulnerable times, and that also this is a global problem that needs a global solution. So they mentioned a bunch of things in there, but generally they say there's a tremendous increase in phishing schemes that use emails, letters, text, links, that sort of thing. And the key words they use: coronavirus, COVID-19, stimulus, like anything else, obviously warning you about clicking on links coming from places you don't know about. But I thought that was interesting. And they said for those sorts of scams, they recommend that you report it to the National Center for Disaster Fraud. They give you a phone number and there's a web complaint form on the website. So they give you some direction. But again, what we already knew, but they're driving it home that there continues to be scams and things to watch out for.
Yeah, I was interested in the fact that, like most other major disasters, many of them being more natural disasters like hurricanes and things like that, where there are scams that are twisted to match the facts of the disaster, quick home repair and things like that in the case of a hurricane. Here we're seeing, at least IRS is pointing out, efforts to sell fake home test kits,
right?
Various cures, treatments, vaccines, even though, it's clear from reading both the popular press and reading the releases from the CDC that, we don't have a working vaccine anywhere in the world, even though it's a worldwide effort to find one or more vaccines that could be used. So, it's an opportunity for the snake oil salesperson to come back and just sell something different.
Yeah, and our age-old problem of wanting to make sure people are aware of legitimate charities for reasons I'm sure we'll talk about on this program in the future, how it impacts de-risking and inclusion. But they say that other related scams involve setting up, besides the investments that you're talking about, setting up fake charities, asking donations for individuals, groups, and areas affected by the disease. And that happens, as we've said, when there are hurricanes and earthquakes and all sorts of things. But there isn't any lower person that would create a phony charity taking advantage of people's empathy to fill their pockets.
Right. Also, the press release mentions, and I know our FBI partners who joined us on the webinar talked about this as well, the fact that the people's desire to get rich quick and, see an opportunity, to make an investment where others haven't, maybe figured out what a smart investment it is, selling shares in microcap stocks that, where there's no real company there, touting the fact that they have a cure or they have the ability to sell personal protective equipment at significant margins where they have no inventory and there actually are no sales. There's those kinds of things going on. So in addition to the traditional phishing, also just the boiler room phone call, lots of different ways that people are trying to take advantage of people's money. And then, of course, directly, there have been efforts to steal people's EIP payments.
Right.
Intercepting them, false identities, things like that. So for all the things we have to watch out for in terms of our health, we have to watch out for other things as well. Just going to
say, just stay on top of this. IRS and the other agencies have some great resources. The websites are excellent. And we thought we'd give you that additional information for this week in AML.
Be safe, John.
Take care.